Hi, this is a quick update on the Leica Q3. I've used it for 2 weeks, and here are my initial thoughts. To no one's surprise, the quality is fantastic, but I don't know who needs a 9500 pixels of an image. I've considered the camera as being sold on the idea of getting different focal length through digital cropping, because when you crop into something like 50 mil, you end up with 5000 something pixels. It's roughly 19 or 20 megapixel image at 50 millimeter. But originally the 28 mil was giving you 60 megapixel. This particular 28 mil Simulax is fantastic. I don't think I've used any prime lens that gives you this sharpness, to the point that it could be a little too sharp. Some of the images looked a little too crispy, like they artificially sharpened. However, once you add a little bit more color correction to them, they tend to soften up a little bit more. But I have some complaints about this camera, and it could be limitations that makes me still prefer the Fuji to this one. Mainly about the ergonomics and the button layout. Previously in the Q2 we had the button layout here, and now we have it on this side, and they move the function buttons. They make them two up here. We still have the scroll here, and it has a clicky button. By default, this will fine-tune your shutter speed because your shutter dial is a classic one-stop only. 2000, 1000, 500, 250, and so on. So in order for you to go every third of a stop, you need this scroll. Once you decide to change the scroll to anything else, then you are really limited with your shutter speed choices. I decided to use this one as an ISO dial, and now when I want to fine tune my exposure, I'm having to, instead of adjusting my shutter speed, I'm going with a third of a stop on the aperture. My second complaint is the placement of these wheels. While there is a thumb rest here, and it's perfect for when you hold the camera, unfortunately, for you to dial in, let's say your ISO, you have to reach out of place. This is not here. So if your thumb is here, that's not next to it. That's like on the side. And then when you want to change your shutter speed, you have to reach this way. And this is also out of place. So you're like reaching all the way there. And my last complaint is about its exposure preview. Every time you dial in your exposure and you want to take a shot, you have to click the shutter speed, and the exposure dims down and up and makes you look twice. Even if you fix your histogram and you fix your meter and you look at both of them and fix everything, but when you come to half click, and it just goes down and up, if you see. Okay, I don't know why that happened. If you guys know why, just let me know. Now, this camera is still winning, at least for me. I understand you get an amazing file from the Leica. You get the sharpness of the 28 Simulax. With this one, you get an f2 and a crop sensor, which makes it roughly an f3. A 50 mil here is basically done by a $300 adapter. Two different worlds. But for me, I feel like while the images from the Leica, they're a little bit more flat, I feel like the processing of the Leica sensor is heavier than the processing of this little camera. Overall, for me, I feel like it's the experience. While this one is the cheaper out of the two, I feel like this gives me a lot more confidence. When I'm shooting, I really don't think twice about what I'm doing. While with the Leica, like I said, there are a few things that make me sometimes just hesitant to take the shot. Maybe I look at the images more often than what I do in the Fuji. It's slightly a slower camera. I understand a lot of people would like a slower camera because it makes you look around and consider what you're shooting a little bit more. But the way I shoot, at least, I like something that I don't think about it twice, something that in my hands feels natural, it's easy to shoot, and today, 6400 pixels, it's plenty. Now, if any one of you knows why the exposure preview of this camera goes up and down, please let me know. Otherwise, for now, this camera is the one that I would comfortably be using.